And that's why Napoleon always kept one hand inside of his jacket.
We hired our high school teacher. Spring break gave Colin, Aaron, and I the kind of cool experience of shooting a scene using our real classmates and real teacher at our actual high school. On March 23rd, we went back to my high school, York School, to shoot the introduction to Carpe Diem. York had allowed us to shoot on a weekend as long as we had a teacher present. Now you'd think that it would be hard to get a teacher to show up to school on a weekend for free, but it was a small school and we were offering a speaking role in a feature film. So when we asked, we got a teacher to agree right away. So that morning, Aaron, she, and I got in Colin's van and got our first shot of the day at 9:23 a.m. It was a pickup of a line from the telling Ammon the story in the car scene that we'd shot over the summer.
All right, so Ammon says, whatever. Next time, man, I promise. So anyway, after that, we went, next time, man, I promise. Anyway, after that, next time, man, I God.
It was just a little extra we needed after we cut the footage into the film and realized being able to cut to that one shot would make the edit a lot easier.
Anyway, after that, we went to the train station headed for Edinburgh, Scotland. And Julia said,
We arrived at York School and met Rachel Carter there. She was our production manager for this, which took some of the pressure off of me and allowed me to give her a larger credit on a feature film. So that was cool and seemed mutually beneficial. And Samir Narain was a camera operator that day too, because there were scenes that had both Aaron and I in them. I'd also reached out to both Hara students and York students to try to fill in our cast. And we got Haley Lane, Nisha Addleman, Christina Cook, Clara Cushing, the twins Max and Sam Warner, Roth Ehnisz, the performer formerly known as Nat Perry, little Prince reference there, Sam-Griffin Ortiz, Will Cushing, Noah Reeves, and Alex O to play the students in the scene, and Sean Raymond agreed to play the teacher. And he was also our faculty supervisor that allowed us to be in a classroom because he taught at York School back then. I found it interesting that almost everyone who showed up was a friend, and almost no one who was pursuing acting as a career made it out that day. It's strange to me how common that pattern was. Just like at Whittier, people who could actually use acting credits in a feature film didn't show up, but my friends who had no interest in professional acting were there happily and didn't really care about the IMDb credits. We managed to get everyone placed so it looked like a full classroom and got the lighting set up right so we could shoot a number of different angles without having to completely redo the lights every time. We ended up using diffused white light on stands so it wasn't too harsh, but filled in the shadows from the overhead fluorescent lighting and was also a similar color temperature. We got our first classroom shot of the day at 12:48 p.m. and the realism was striking. Mr. Raymond had actually been one of our teachers. That classroom was actually a room we'd had classes in, and the people around us were our actual classmates from the high school we were shooting in. In the film, the scene took place during class while Mr. Raymond was teaching, and it let the audience know that finals were coming up. But it was mostly about the character Jack Card staring at women, making a booty joke, and doing some puns, which established the character as crass, sexual, comedic, and a good friend of Ross Freeman.
Jenny? Her name is Jenny.
Aaron got a behind-the-scenes shot while I was adjusting lighting at 2:20.
Good.
How do you feel about this film, Mr. Director?
I'm feeling pretty good about it at this point, with the rough cut basically done. Ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
We're improvising.
Okay.
I think we're
covered in live.
Okay, ready?
And we got the last interior shot of the day at 2:51.
Remember, the final's in 3 weeks. You're dismissed.
We then handed the camera off to Samir Narain, who got 2 takes of people leaving the classroom from the inside and 2 takes of people leaving from the outside. Then Mr. Raymond did something we'd never expect. When we got the second and final take of people leaving the classroom, Mr. Raymond surprised us all as he walked out of the classroom at the end of the shot, cracked a beer, and said,
What a waste.
What a waste. Oh.
Beautiful.
It wasn't in the script, and he hadn't told us he was planning to do that, but I kept it in the film and thought it was one of the better jokes in the early part of the movie. I think it actually might have been a can of soda or something, but the logo wasn't visible, so it was up to audience interpretation, and I kind of loved that. After that was done, we had Samir shoot a roaming scene of all the students at school, so we set up a glide cam that someone had brought. A lot of that roaming scene was to establish that Jack Card was a clown who didn't really do well with women, and also to establish the pressure that Ross Freeman, my character, got from other women while he was dating long distance. I tried to add depth to Ross by putting this part in the introduction where women flirt with him, and he wants to flirt back, but ends up turning them down in order to stay true to his long-distance girlfriend, showing both his morals and love for Julia.
Yeah, so even, maybe?
I don't know if we're quite even yet.
Well, what would make us even? I have a girlfriend.
Oh, well, we can fix that, I guess. I don't know. What do you think?
I'm in.
Are you in?
I'd love to, but I can't.
To make this more comedic, we cranked it up to an extreme, with Nisha and Christina sitting on either side of me and implying a three-way potential, and I was happy that it showed more of that character's struggle, and also happy that it was so true to real life, because those are situations that happen that people struggle with all the time, and situations I'd wrestled with while in a long-term, long-distance relationship. I'd actually named the character Ross Freeman because he was someone who never felt free, but was searching for a sense of freedom. I felt like that was talked about a little in what we shot overseas, but adding this scene made it a little more apparent and showed a compare and contrast. Unfortunately, that scene never made it into the final cut of the film. It wasn't totally in focus, we didn't have a lot of angles, and I wanted the intro of the film to look great to keep people watching, so it ended up a deleted scene. We also had some interactions between other characters, but nothing that really added much to the plot or character development, so at the end of the day, those shots didn't make it in the final cut of the film either.
You thirsty?
No.
You want the D?
I'm okay. I don't want the D.
Well then.
Planned for my entire life.
Alright, let's cut.
Are you ready to talk now, mother?
Hi, Mom.
Ready to talk?
At 3:45 p.m. we got the last Steadicam shot, and that was a wrap on that day's shooting. We went home happy that we'd gotten the rest of the introductory scenes of the film, had established who these characters were before they left on the trip, and were much closer to a completed film. I felt like it added a lot to show who these people were before they went off on this adventure, so we could see who they'd become by going on that adventure. However, when Aaron and I went over the footage later, we were disappointed with the glide cam shots. The majority of it was just a little too shaky and not quite in focus, so we ended up cutting the majority of that from the film. I felt a little bad about the whole situation though, because I thought I was helping Samir by giving him a camera credit in a feature film, and that he was helping us by filming while we were all on screen. But most of that footage was on the cutting room floor, so to speak. But it wasn't his fault, it was just an equipment issue. The only blunder of that scene was shooting it on the glide cam that wasn't actually a Steadicam, so it didn't properly stabilize the shots. What we should have done was gotten a backup and shoot each part of that scene separately with at least one tripod shot, instead of relying on the one long shot for that whole segment. So we learned to always look over the footage and get at least one tripod shot for safety. Essentially, the lesson was check your work and don't take risks without a backup plan. I thought it was interesting that when York wrote about this shoot in their online newsletter, it listed Aaron and I as the filmmakers and Colin and Tyler as among the actors, which I didn't think was quite fair, but I realized that Aaron and I did do more of the technical stuff, and Colin and Tyler did prefer being in front of the camera usually. I felt bad for everyone that showed up that day that wasn't mentioned in the article, because we'd had nothing but York students and alumni in the cast that day, but no one else was mentioned. I guess they just didn't have the space to list everyone, but as you can tell from these stories, I always like to give credit where credit is due. Anyway, you'll have to tune in next week to hear about how I made a promo video for the Animal House Toga Party.
I have a question.
Stop.
I have a question.
Yeah. Not right now.
Not right now, but later.
Okay.
But later. Hey, look, it's the three amigos.
The three amigos.
Here we go.
Here we go, let's go.
Go.
On the bar, bro. Out here.
Why are you skipping?
Why aren't you skipping? Where are we going?
Cut!